So something that's been a really interesting quirk of this week, and I will already preface it by saying I'm pretty well out of my depth with explaining why. But this particular week, there have been scores and scores of Hasidic families out along the coast, and I think it might have to do with holidays.
It is.
For Sukkot. Sukkot. Again, out of my depth. But
I believe Sukkah is the name of the
structure,
hut,
yeah.
and Sukkot is the name of the holiday.
Yes. So, starting on Tuesday when I was by myself, but it's happened most every day, sometime around after 3 o'clock or so. And I don't know if that has something to do with there are activities that take up the earlier hours this week, but there have been people in families enjoying the park, thousands upon thousands of people, to the point where I really don't think I've seen as many Hasidic Jews cumulatively as I had on like Tuesday or Thursday of this week. And it was really impressive and cool to see these spaces being used in such a way, you know?
Yeah, I remember when I was working at BBP when this would happen and being like, oh my God, it's like Hasid like week. That's like this, but it's only, I mean, it's not like they are never here, but like this week in particular, it's like a festival.
Yeah.
But it's definitely because of Sukkot, but also or Sukkot. Now you got me confused. But I think that at least my understanding as a very, very vague Jew, is that most of the morning is taken up with prayer, and there's a certain window of time before sundown to like have a little bit of recreation, but you're not supposed to be using electronics or anything if possible. Also, it's like building the hut. Ideally, you're collecting branches and things from park spaces. So I don't know that they're like foraging and like stealing things, but there's like, if you can find some pieces of
like
stuff.
Some flowers.
I've been seeing a lot of palm branches in plastic or something similar that people are purchasing.
It's typically purchased. Like I don't think people are coming and like just looking for branches. But
I haven't noticed anyone doing that. But
that's my own. I guess that's my story I'm telling myself.
It makes sense. We kind of assumed that maybe the morning was time for prayer, so it's I guess we're all in agreement on that. But then it also is like the whole holiday is about recreating the time that was spent being nomadic.
Right, so there's a wanderingness.
Yeah, and so it's like the sukkah, the hut, is meant to represent like the sort of flimsy structure that people would have been living in, and then all of that being outside and being in nature. So it kind of makes sense that you would go to, if you're living in the city, this is like the most nature that you can get to easily. Yeah.
I'll also just one added piece, I think, is that between Crown Heights and Williamsburg, which are the two primary Orthodox neighborhoods, this park is like equal distance.
Oh, right.
So there's a certain draw, especially if you've got family on either, like that they can meet here.
Yeah.
Collective.
Oh, that makes sense.
Spending time and being in the space. So I think that also geographically is why maybe you guys, like, you know, you could go to any park. They could have gone to a park in their neighborhood or to like Prospect Park.
Yeah.
I don't think the same thing happens in Prospect Park.
Well, we've been seeing like really along the coast. It's like we saw a bunch of Hasidic people in Owl's Head, in Sunset Park, in Brooklyn Bridge Park.
That's cool.
The Sunset Park in Owl's Head I was a little surprised by, but maybe there's probably communities there, or they're just like nice parks.
Yeah, I mean I guess there are more communities than I'm acknowledging in southern Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I just don't know them as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting when you're talking about the use of electronics and I guess the real litigation that goes on with which as technology advances, what's considered appropriate or not to use.
Yeah.
And the hoverboards are like very popular with the kids.
In the Hasidic community?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
I
Yeah.
wonder what, like, there was almost certainly a conversation that happened with, like, leaders to decide whether or not that was okay. You know?
like if that counts as an electronic?
Or if and I wonder. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like definitely a certain type of gray area. I guess my thought about the electronic thing also is that I remember specifically when this time of year happened, there would be an inundation of calls to the park asking if certain things were open, where certain things were, that I'm like, you could just Google search it.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
you know? And they won't do that.
Right.
They can't do that.
Right.
But they can make calls.
Yeah.
But I think it was only ever the men. It was like
Okay.
there's certain limitations.
Yeah. It might even be from like a house phone or, like
Right,
not from
right.
the, like, or I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that there is a logic. I don't always know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's endlessly fascinating to me, all like when I think just because I don't belong to a community per se. I mean, in some ways there's like typical etiquette that's expected of me by certain people, but it's ultimately up to me whether or not I'm gonna do that or not, and then those people will either be my friends or not.
Yeah.
Right.
But I've never belonged to a community really where there's very clear ways of living, like day to day for me, and so it really is just like, it's really interesting, and yeah, I'm just kind of endlessly wondering how that all works.
Yeah, I've been asked if I'm Jewish, like, I don't know, 8 or 10 times this week. And I really want to be like, yes. Because I was like, what's next? I mean,
Yeah.
we did a little bit of reading on it. And, I understand it's like, saying prayers with people and being offered the opportunity to participate in traditions and, like, have a community thing. And also it seems like, they gain some spiritual points or possibly community points as well. But
yeah, well, it's kind of an indoctrination technique, or
Yeah.
like bringing people back into the fold that have fallen wayward. I mean, it's not that judgmental.
No,
just like,
Yeah.
that's
but like
kind of
a
the
welcoming
incentive.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny. That's happened to me a couple times as
Sure.
well. And
Yeah. What do you say?
I deny it usually,
Oh.
which I feel bad because I know that's not as a Jew I should, but I don't know Hebrew. I don't really want to be prayed with, and I don't. It's usually men asking me, and then I just kind of am turned off by that. Like I'm
Right.
kind of like, ugh.
Yeah.
It was funny, once it happened with Emily, our friend, and she and I both just immediately said no,
Oh,
because I think it was just like a knee-jerk thing. But then
yeah.
we told her mom, and we were like, how did they know that we were Jewish? And she was like, it's because you've got long torsos and short legs. And I was like, what? So I guess there's like a Jewish woman body type that I
Oh,
didn't know that we
wow.
had or something, which is very funny.
Oh, that's
Because I mean, I'm sure it's also just like faces or
I've always
whatever.
wondered why I'm never asked.
You've got too.
Is it
Your
my
legs are too
legs?
tall. Your legs are too long.
All right.
It's these short
yeah.
legs that Emily and I have.
I mean, I think if it were also an added thing is if I were Jewish and I was asked during my day-to-day, I would be basically not inclined. But the current circumstances that
Right.
we're just roaming the city,
Right.
it's like, I have time, whatever, let's do whatever you want.
And it's like interesting and fascinating, and like I also would love to be part of it, but like there's also, you don't want to because you don't want to mess up the whole thing. Like, Mike's Catholic and I'm not, and whenever I go to church with his family, I can't take communion because I would like mess up the magic. Because I don't believe the
Right.
same thing. Like I don't
That's my
believe that
exact
it's
quote, by the way.
actually blood.
No, you'll mess up the magic.
Yeah. Well,
You're not
but
allowed.
I don't want to do it because I don't want to mess up the magic. Even if I don't believe in the magic, like I still don't want to mess up the magic.
Yeah.
Right, you don't want
So.
to take it, and that's part of like, I mean, I guess I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm messing up the magic, or like, if I am one of God's chosen Jew people, and I'm denying it to these others that are asking, maybe I'm I'm forsaking. But I also
Oh.
think it's between me and him.
Yeah.
And you can't, you know, you can't make me one way or another.
Right.
So.
Yeah.